We are coming up to the 1 year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We have director and executive producer Nathaniel Lezra here to chat about the documentary Don't Leave Me Behind, Stories of Young Ukrainian Survival, that's going to be on MTV February 21st. Thank you so much for your time today. Of
Course, good to be here.
Millions left Ukraine and went to Poland. About half of those were teenagers. Tell me a little bit about researching for this project and getting to go there to film this documentary.
Sure. I mean, the early stages of the doc came just in the form of analyzing the coverage, right? I noticed that there wasn't a lot of conversation about the mental health implications of the war on young people. I started to focus on that more and more, and it just kind of went from there. I connected with MTV. They were incredible partners. They got us into the field safely, quickly, and we connected with the subjects through our Ukrainian network. We had a lot of eager collaborators out there in the field, and it just kind of went from there.
Because you watch on the news, you see the casualties, you see, what's going on, but you don't get to hear the stories, and you don't get to hear the stories of young people. And why was this project so important for you?
For that exact reason. I think that, I was in Europe when the invasion happened. I immediately saw that there wasn't this sort of discussion of the human side of this war. There was a lot of political analysis. There was a lot of geopolitics happening, and there wasn't any engagement with the human side of this, humanist storytelling about the people involved, fleeing, uprooted by this war. They're in new countries where they don't speak the languages, and those experiences were being untold. So I wanted to focus on them.
And being a teenager is so hard, let alone having to go through something like this. Give us a little bit of insight, especially going into the special on the 21st, of what we can expect and who we're going to see in this documentary.
Yeah, people are going to meet Sasha, and they're going to meet Dasha, a number of other inspiring, resilient teenagers. It's a story of young people kind of asking what's next, right? They were in the midst of developing themselves as people, that pursuing their interests, going to high school, and then all of that was taken from them. And so the film is really about that feeling of whiplash. I was in one place, now I'm in another place. How do I move forward? And it's inspiring to hear these kids talk about the future. It's devastating. Obviously, these are people who have been through enormous trauma, but people are going to get to know what the future holds for these kids, which is great.
That is amazing. What was it like for you, especially obviously, you can do your research, you can watch things on television, but to actually be there, was it a different perspective that you got, or were you like, this is exactly the way I thought it was going to be?
It was radically different. It was radically different. I mean, I my focus in the field was on the filmmaking, on the just the pure nuts and bolts storytelling, connecting with the subjects, developing our relationship, and really passing the microphone to them so that they can, take control of the narrative. They are people who are left behind, right? The title comes from that exact sentiment. There are people who are left behind by the broader political storytelling that's happening in the world. So we wanted to give them a microphone. They can guide the narrative about their lives. And so that was my focus. I was and continue to be surprised by how strong and how resilient and how exciting these young people are. They're going to do great things in the world, and they're going to go back to Ukraine. They're going to bring what they've learned from this, and that's what's going to happen.
Did you find a lot of the adults kind of stepping up their game and supporting these kids more, or were you finding that the teens were supporting themselves and kind of building their own village and their own tribe that way, and kind of uplifting each other, or was it a combination of the two?
I think it was a combination of the two. I think that it should never be simplified what war does to people. And I think that one of the big tragedies of this event is the impact on families. So a lot of many of the men in Ukraine were forced to stay on military reserve. So you have not only the fact that everybody have witnessed their cities and towns and villages destroyed in many instances, but their families themselves are ripped apart. So people have to flee, leaving family members behind. So, the teenagers, they fill parental roles. Parents stay parents. It's really about every single one of these young Ukrainians and older Ukrainians coming together to just figure out how to move forward.
What are you hoping, especially fans in the US and people who end up watching this special on MTV, get out of it, and the ways that they can maybe change their perspective either at school, back at home, or how they can end up helping out maybe now or in the future?
I'm hoping the film is a sort of a roadmap for conversations about this stuff. I think that coverage still is really guided by statistical analysis and political discussion. I think that this is an opportunity for people to understand that they can have real emotional conversations about the mental health implications of war. And I hope it broadens that conversation.
You mentioned mental health. What are the teens doing as far as trying to maintain their mental health? Because obviously normal resources, aren't available and they're in a new country. And how are they helping that and, help to foster that?
Well, I mean, they're doing a lot. They're each person, I think, processes trauma differently. They are some of our characters, some of our people in the film are volunteering. They're a part of refugee support themselves. They are donating money. They're helping collect money. They're on the ground. They're grassroots organizers themselves. But some are just living life, and they're trying to support their families. They're working. They're living.
How has this project shaped you as a director and as a producer of projects, as far as, here's this incredible thing that I went through, that we filmed, and now this might be the work, or this might be the trajectory of my career after this?
I think that you answered that perfectly. I went out there with a desire to tell the story and to help pass the microphone to these kids, and it only has inspired me to continue pursuing stories like this. I think that there isn't enough engagement on a humanist level with people of this kind, people fleeing war. And I think that this is going to be where I spend my life and my career working, is
Well,
this space.
thank you so much for your time today, and can't wait for everybody to see this on February 21st on MTV. Don't Leave Me Behind: Stories of Young Ukrainian Survival. Nathaniel, thank you so much for your time today.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.